Hey everybody, hope everybody's enjoying their quarantine. I'm just kicking around the house today. I don't have a ton going on, so I thought I'd share a story, seeing how yesterday was National Siblings Day. So a shout out to my siblings. Happy Siblings Day. Love you guys. And some of you are probably like, love you guys. Well, yeah, so here's my story. I'm 19 years old. It's 1993. I finish up my freshman year at Castleton. I come home for the summer and I wake up on a Friday morning. I wake up, I come downstairs, and my mother's like, hey, come into the living room. I have something I want to talk to you about. And I was like, okay. So I sat down on the couch, and my mother began telling me about a story about when she was in high school. She was 17 years old, finishing her senior year of high school, and became pregnant. And I was like, oh boy, here's the safe sex story. I've heard this one 100 times, years ago. I was like, okay, yes, you got pregnant and you had an abortion, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, and I was waiting for that part. Well, that part didn't come. She's like, when I got pregnant, I went into, I finished my senior year of high school hiding the fact that I was pregnant. So I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. And she goes, when I graduated, I went to Burlington and went into hiding and went to the Elizabeth Lund Home for unwed mothers. And I'm like, oh my God. At that point, like I'm start getting super emotional. Like my mother, who I've known for 19 years of my life at that time, I never thought I would, when you think you know somebody extremely well, and then something like that, gets thrown on you, that was pretty heavy. I was like, holy cow. So she continued telling the story that nobody knew about it. Just a few of her family members knew about it. And she spent the entire summer up there pregnant and waiting to give birth. Well, September 23rd was my mother's birthday. That's when she turned 18 years old. So on the night of her 18th birthday, she went into labor. And the morning of the 24th, gave birth to a baby girl. So, of course, being curious, I said, well, who was the father? And then she came out and said, your father, Mike. Now my head has completely spun. I have found out that I have a full-blooded sister somewhere out in the world. That's pretty mind-blowing. And my mother had said, I said, well, do you want to find her? And she said that she would love to know someday, but she would never go searching for her because she never would want to disrupt her life. But my mother had left all her records open. She goes, if, the girl ever wants to come back and find me, she goes, the records are open. I've kept them updated all these years and she can find me. And I was like, wow. Well, back in 1993, there was no internet, there was no Google, there's no Facebook. None of that existed. There was really no way to do any kind of research to go find anything. So now, at the end of my college year, 96, the internet starts coming around. So 97, 98. So probably around 98, I'm on the computer and just kind of searching chat rooms and different sites and typing in, the birth date, and can't really find anything. Nothing comes up. So, what can I do? Every few years, I'd probably go on and just keep searching because I was always really curious. And then Facebook came around. I think I would have gone on Facebook about 10 years ago, something like that, probably 10 years ago. And I remember, I always thought, oh, maybe I'd be the guy that said, hey, looking, with a sign, looking for a sister born September 24th, blah, 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 and hoping that it would go viral and maybe I'd find this full-blooded sister I had somewhere in the world. But I never did that. I don't know. I never did that. But I did continue to look, like, often, at least once or twice a year, I'd probably just fool around and just Google stuff. So now fast forward to 2019, about a year ago from this month in April. It's probably like April, May. Somebody had tipped me off on Ancestry.com. So I signed on to Ancestry and I found that in the state of Vermont, it was extremely easy to find birth records. And so I found birth records and narrowed it down to Fletcher Allen. I narrowed it down to the date. I narrowed it down to the sex, that it was a female. I mean, there's not many people that are born. You wouldn't think there's that many kids born on the exact same day, but there was actually quite a few. There's probably a dozen girls born on September 24th of that year. And so I found the birth record. This is the short version of kind of a long story. And so I found the birth record. I saw that birth certificate that the child had gone through, that the girl had gone through probate. So if it went through probate, there was probably a very solid chance that she had been given up for adoption. And that's why I went through the probate court, because the birth certificate was filed, 8 months later. Anyways, do a little research through Facebook and realize that we have one mutual friend. And our mutual friend happened to be Sandra St. Marie, who was my girlfriend, I think sophomore year of high school for a short period of time. So I'm like, wow, okay, she's connected to a high school girlfriend of mine. That's mind blowing. So I kind of freaked out, and I knew, and as soon as I saw her picture, there was no doubt in my mind that this was my sister that I'd been searching for 26 years. It was crazy. Like as soon as, so I grabbed the picture, I texted it to Kyle, I texted it to my mother, and I'm like, actually Kyle was on the phone with me when we saw the picture, and we're like, oh my God, it was an uncanny resemblance of my mother's high school yearbook photo. So I decided to craft an email along with Kyle, and we got our mother's permission to send it. So we sent the email out, and we waited a few days and got a response. And the response was very warm and nice, but she didn't know if she wasn't ready to meet us, but at that point in time. And her email was very, very nice. I guess reading between the lines now, what she was saying was, back off. Thanks for reaching out, but I really had never planned on ever meeting anybody. So, but hey, this is really interesting. And the way we read it was, well, hey, she's really interested, so I think we should pursue it. So we continued to pester her a little bit, and I know we finally broke her. And when she first found out, I think, there's no thinking, she assumed that Kyle and I were half siblings. And then through emails, which turned into messaging, into real-time texting, it was around this past Thanksgiving that we kind of had started developing a nice rapport with her. And, we could tell that everybody was really warming up to each other and sharing lots of stories through texting and email and stuff. And that's when my mother sent the email to her, letting her know that we shared the same father. I can't speak for her, but I do believe that was the game changer. And actually, I'm positive that was the game changer, because since then, I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to meet her, and I'll flash a picture up. So that's a picture of us. It's crazy. And so since then, I've had chance. Now my mother, my sis Kyle, and her name is Nicole. Now we talk with each other a lot, and it's unbelievable how similar people can be. Genetics, there's no disputing it. It is unbelievable, the similarities between a sense of humor. It's crazy for people that have never, that hadn't met each other for 45 years, how incredibly similar it is. So it's kind of a really short version, which you're probably thinking it's not very short at all. It's, I guess almost 10 minutes long here. A short version of kind of a cool story. Unfortunately, my sister and my mother were supposed to meet her last weekend, but because of all this coronavirus stuff and the fact that people can't travel, that's all been put on hold for right now. So they will be meeting, and my mother probably meeting her in May. My sister will meet her this summer, and my father will meet her sometime over the summer. And I just thought it was a cool story to share, especially with National Siblings Day being yesterday. So a shout out to all the siblings out there. I love you, Kyle. I love you, Nicole. And yeah, I'm glad I got to share this story with you. Have a great day. Stay healthy.